Welcome to the Lessons from Your Hairstylist podcast, where we uncover and leverage your unique beauty and personal style. I'm your host, Sarah Cruz, a beauty industry educator and hairstylist with 30 years experience. This show is dedicated to providing you with insights and practical advice for living a happier, healthier, and more fulfilled life. Experience that special stylist-client bond right here as we dive into conversations with experts in beauty and wellness. Here, you'll gain valuable tips on personal style and self-care to empower your journey. Join me to unlock the secrets to living beautifully well while elevating your lifestyle, mind, body, and spirit. Your appointment is now, so have a seat and get ready for transformation. Well, hello and welcome to the Lessons from Your Hairstylist podcast. I'm your host and hairstylist friend, Sarah Cruz. And today I am very excited to bring on one of my good friends and coworkers, Miss Lauren Keck. We're going to be talking about hair extensions today. So something that, has kind of plagued me for many years and something that I see a lot, not only in the salon, but also when I go onto social media. I see there's like a demand or there's like requests for thin and fine hair tutorials and things like that. And I used to do extensions myself. I still do them from time to time, but I've kind of been out of that extensions game for a while, and they've really come a long way. And there are so many more options available to people that really in the past could not wear extensions for various reasons. And one being, one of the things that I struggle with is just not having enough hair on the top to really cover. And some people are really thin up there, and some people just don't have enough hair that grows in order to cover the bonds that have traditionally been the methods of application. So I was excited to ask Lauren to come on. She's a stylist at Studio Gavin Hair Color in Franklin, Tennessee, and that's where I work. We're both shareholders at the salon. And she's an expert. She's an expert on all things extensions, even a bit of like hair restoration, I think, and all these different types of techniques and methods that are really ahead of I think, kind of like the newest and latest, greatest things coming out in technology. And there's just so many options that are available to people that really haven't been available before. So I'm excited to kind of pick her brain about that. And if you're like me and you're somebody who really struggles with this problem, I think you're going to enjoy this episode and the information that we're going to get from Lauren. So Lauren, thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you for having me.
Yes, I'm very much a newbie at this podcasting game right now.
It's okay. We'll be in it together.
Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate that. I appreciate, having a friend as a support to start out. And I just want to have you introduce yourself really and let us know just a little bit about you and kind of like what got you into becoming really a true expert and a specialist in hair extensions.
Well, thank you so much, because that's very kind of you to say. I'm a stylist behind the chair, just like all of you. I've been behind the chair for 17 years, and I've had some really incredible opportunities to work in different areas of this industry, anywhere from backstage all the way up to your day-to-day like maintenance. And so we see a lot of people that come in and out, no matter if it's hair loss, if it's like insecurity over density, different things that they're challenged with. And for me, I actually lost my hair twice in my life. And so that's kind of what prompted my interest in it. And I just fell in love with the process. I fell in love with being able to give people an option to feel confident again. And so 17 years, probably 12 of those have been significantly dedicated to alternative hair. And then I would say probably in the last 5, really in hair restoration. I work with anything from your basic extensions that you see all across the market, all the way to full custom pieces that can be anything you want them to be. So
That
I feel really privileged to be able to share some of that information because I think that it is something that you're going to start seeing in the market over the next few years. And I've just been really blessed to have kind of like an early start in it. So I've got some good tips and tricks with it.
You've always been that type of person that was diving into the kind of the new and revolutionary things that would solve a problem. Like you're very much a problem solver. And isn't that always kind of the way is like what leads us into something that we become good at or passionate about is a lot of times it stems from an issue that, we ourselves have had. And
Absolutely.
I think that that really allows for us to serve people that have the same challenges even better because we really do understand. I think there's like such an emotional toll. I know it has been for me with not having the hair that we would like to have and just running into challenges constantly. I mean, and it's a day to day. So I think
Mhm.
that that is definitely, I think all the best people in their field come from a place of having, struggled with something to begin with.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
There's a passion behind it. It's definitely something that when it hits you in a personal way, you put a lot more effort into it. And I think you become a lot more connected to it.
Yeah, for sure. So tell me a little bit about maybe some of the different methods that you do. And I know like you do I've seen you do a whole bunch of stuff. Like you've even gotten into like there's like tattooing and you're doing like hair by hair and like I don't even know. Like I started out like 2005 with great lengths extensions doing the keratin bonds and then I've done a few other little things but you know, I have not even seen the world of extensions and the different hair restoration and enhancements that you have. You've really become an expert and someone who is really on top of everything that's going on with that. I know you even have like your own education program for stylists out there. So
I
just
do.
tell us a little bit because we might have some stylists on, but really, this podcast is really meant to be for the clients and for people out there who would like to have that kind of like good relationship that you and I have with our clients, but maybe they haven't found somebody or they haven't felt like they could communicate and they're just interested in all of the things, health and wellness and things that allow them to have better hair and skin overall. All those things kind of lead into. So for people who are interested in trying to do something about their problem as far as like their hair, if it's hair thinning or if it's hair loss or if it's just they want longer, thicker hair. Can you just give us a little bit of an overview of like some of the methods out there?
Sure. So obviously, I think that the most popular methods that you're going to be aware of are going to be your tape-ins, your weft extensions, your keratin tips, your eye tips, which are the beaded individual strands. Um, so those are going to be the most widely used methods across the platform. So you will see that in almost every salon that offers extensions. Going beyond that and getting more into hair restoration and alternative hair services, something that I truly like have my passion behind and am currently working on is mesh integration, doing full custom like overhauls. So for anybody who has major hair loss, alopecia, post chemo, I mean, the list goes on and on of the conditions that people deal with and being able to serve them and give them an option when every other method fails them. Like you said, one of the big things is you have to have hair to attach it to be able to get extensions, right?
Yeah.
And so a lot of the extension methods, which people, as an average consumer, people don't realize is they don't teach hair extensions in beauty school. This
Right.
is all on your own to go get certified outside of that in your career. And so it's very, very, very important to do your research when you're looking for those things
Hmm.
because the average person, it can watch a video, but if you don't know how to properly care for the hair along the way, you're not going to be able to install properly or take care of the hair, which can cause major damage in the long run. So for me, I really focus, I would say 70% of my clients wear a hidden bead method of some sort. So I'm certified in, I think, over 17 different methods at this point. And I'm a collaborator, so I collaborate with other companies in launching new methods and new technologies. And so for me, it's kind of a mix and match. I just customize everything for people. But the things that you're going to see the most in my chair would be weft methods, K-tips, and mesh integration. And mesh integration is a broad term because there's a lot that falls under.
Okay. Well, let's talk about the mesh integration because I know just from my what experience I have, and correct me if I'm out of touch with this because I don't do extensions all the time, but as far as the hidden beads, as far as the hand tied weft extensions, the bonds, the keratin bonds, which are kind of fused that to the hair, tape-ins, things like that. What would be the difference between those and like the mesh? Like, could anybody wear the more broad methods that you see everywhere, or if somebody's suffering with hair loss or not enough hair to cover. I know you have to have enough hair to cover over some of those types of methods. So if they don't have that, is that where the mesh part comes in?
Yes,
Okay.
definitely. So with mesh integration, it can be used for a lot of things. It could be used for someone who has very fragile hair. So we've seen it where people go and they get extensions installed and it's just been too heavy and it's pulled their hair out. Mesh can actually be placed to support your rows, and you can still do rows and you can still do other methods similar to that in the interior of the hair. Then you can also use mesh as a full coverage option. So for people who actually have nail pattern baldness, who have thinning, who have any type of like low density, we can actually incorporate mesh on top of other methods or solo in itself to be able to get that full coverage.
Okay. Okay. So what is the maintenance of something like that? And sort of how does that feel? Like, what's the experience from the customer's perspective on that?
I would say, from my customer's perspective, it's been the most life-changing thing I've been able to offer. Over the last 5 years of really getting into the hair restoration and being able to offer these services to people who never had an option, it's truly life-changing for them. And I mean, it just brings life back into their face and back into their attitude. And all of a sudden everything's different. So that's going to be the major change on that. But the difference between them, I would say, would just be that it's all based on hair type and it's based on end goal. So the maintenance can range anywhere from 3 weeks, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, all the way up to 12 weeks, depending on what you're getting. So it's a very broad term with mesh integration because it can be used in so many different ways.
I've seen you in the salon and I've seen a wide range of your clients that you've had. And I've seen, clients that you have that just, they're looking for length and thickness. But then I've seen some of your clients who are truly suffering with baldness. And
Yeah,
I just mean like you see their scalp. I can imagine that that's got to be such just new life, like just a new lease on life. Can you think of someone that you've had just, I mean, of course, without using their name, but like just a story about somebody that, an example that they were truly suffering with something that was completely like just shattering their self-image because of the issues with their hair, and that a transformation where you've taken them to where now they've got an option and they've got something that they can do to, live their life and put who they want to be forward into the world. Do you have someone that
absolutely.
stands out?
There's a few, but I mean, most recently, I would say, and actually someone I worked on yesterday is it's like he's an attorney. He is also a musician and took a break from music because he couldn't stand to be on stage anymore. And we were able to restore the hair that he had 15, 20 years ago. And to go from basically nothing to a full head of long hair. He's now back on stage. He's performing, he's touring, and it's brought his life back to what he
Right.
wanted it to be.
Yeah. There's just no better feeling when I think many times we go into this profession, like we want to make people feel good and look good. But then you just don't realize sometimes how profound what you do can be to somebody's life, and their
Absolutely.
livelihood. So
Yeah.
what was the method that you used with him? Because I know you work with both women and men. So what
Hmm.
method did you use with him?
So he actually has a full custom mesh integration. So in the case with his, he actually has full hair loss on 75% of his scalp. And so I was able to go in and do a full restoration and add, I think his length is probably like 14 inches. So he's actually got long curly hair now. And I mean, it is just the most beautiful, like natural looking finish you've ever seen. And no one knows. In
Yeah.
fact, I mean, yesterday we were resetting and there were clients on the other side of the room, and you could just see everybody's heads turning
Yeah.
because they're like, I had no idea. I'm
Yeah.
like, yeah. And the thing is you don't have to tell people, or you can,
Right.
because it's going to look so natural that you can live your life without anybody having to know, or you can shout it from the rooftops that you got this done.
Right. Because we're all different like that.
Yeah.
Some of us are just like, yes, look at me. Look what I had.
Right.
Other people are like, I don't want anybody to know. But I have seen where your work looks like, nobody would ever know, you
Yeah,
know?
I will say that's one thing in the salon where I'm positioned is I'm in like a back corner away from
Yeah.
people. So it does give more privacy for those services. But it's always interesting because, especially like, as a stylist being in the building when I walk people back,
Yeah.
the people I walk back and the people I walk out
Yes.
are not always the same.
No. I see them go and then I see them come back out and I'm like, wow, okay, now that is a transformation. That is a
Yeah,
transformation. And I'm glad that you used a male example because I think a lot of times we just assume that extensions or hair restoration. I mean, when I think of hair restoration, sometimes you think of a transplant, but
right.
you don't realize that you can restore your hair inside of a salon setting.
Absolutely.
And if somebody's listening to this and maybe it's not them, but it's their boyfriend or their husband, or even like if somebody, may be transitioning and they're having, hormonal issues, things like that, that they're trying to grow their hair or they're trying to have, more hair so that they have something to do, something to style, then I just think that that's a really good example to use because just like I said, I think so many people just think about it being like a women problem.
Yeah,
And then they think about surgery as like something the man, the guy gets where it's like for
exactly.
everybody.
When
So,
really, I mean, hair extensions are a non-surgical option.
yeah.
And I truly kind of delve into that side of things whenever I was doing SMP, which is the scalp tattoos,
Yeah.
um, which I'm not doing currently, but they coincide with hair extensions. And
Mhm.
so I think that's where my turn on having more of a male-based clientele kind of hit because all of a sudden all of my SMP clients were now adding in hair as well. And so yeah, I think people naturally think it's a women's service,
Yeah.
but it's for everyone.
Yeah.
It's for everyone.
And that's why I wanted to chat with you because I know that what you offer goes so far beyond what most salons offer in terms of hair extensions and hair restoration, hair enhancement, whatever you want to call it. Just getting the word out to people to let them know that it's not the same thing from like 5, 10 years ago. This is a
It's a
completely,
whole different game.
yeah. I want to go back to your client's mesh installation again, and just kind of get a little bit more detailed on exactly what that entails. Is this like a cap that he has on, and is there any of his hair that incorporates into this mesh, or what is that process like?
Sure. So for that particular one, for the full install, we do allow some of his natural hair to show. That's what keeps a more natural hairline for him. That's what keeps it more manageable and doesn't seem like it's just so far from what he's used to.
Right.
But there are different ways to do it. And so typically you are creating a custom mesh base that is attached to their natural hair. So they do need some natural hair.
Okay.
It can be short. It can be an inch and a half long. You've seen it.
Yeah.
So we
Yeah.
can take those pixie cuts that never qualified
Right.
for traditional extensions, and now you have an option.
Yeah.
So you're creating a base with a flexible mesh, and then we're attaching on hair pieces to that. So they range anywhere from lace fronts to machine wefts to hand hides and so on, closures. So we use a little bit of everything just based on what we need.
Okay. Now, a lace front, what is that exactly? What is
Yeah,
that?
so if anybody who's familiar with wigs, that's typically where you hear lace front.
Okay.
All a lace front is the base of a wig or a hairpiece that has an extended front piece of lace mesh. And what that mesh does is it sits against the skin and it actually blends that transition down. So it becomes transparent between the hair and the skin. So you don't have like a hard line.
Gotcha.
So those can be used with mesh integration for full coverage options.
Mm-hmm.
And then we can use other options if we don't need it to go to the hairline.
Because I've seen that when you have that lace front and how that just lays in with the skin and you cannot detect it. You
Mm-mm.
cannot detect it. And the hairline is just it's such a natural thing. It's not like how we think of wigs used to be like years ago, and you can see the seam and you can see like all that craziness.
Right.
It is,
They can
I
be
mean,
so seamless. And
it's
I
come such
mean,
a long way.
there have been workshops that I've been in where we have sat there and picked apart celebrity pictures to
Yeah.
decide who was wearing wigs and who weren't
Yeah.
because they are so good.
Yep.
I mean, even a hairstylist sometimes we don't know. I need
Right.
to get up in there and like actually see because it's been made so well that it's hyper realistic.
Mm-hmm.
And if I can't tell, do you think the average person on the street's
No,
going to tell? No.
no. No, absolutely not. So, yeah, I mean, it's amazing how far these have come. Now, would someone be able to, as far as home care, I mean, can they swim? What do they do? Do they shampoo it? How do they do that?
Yeah. So a full installation piece is there for 3 to 6 weeks. So you're going to be able to live your life, work out, swim, do all the things. And when I say swim, I say that lightly because we all know we don't prefer to put any type of additional hair in chlorine and salt water and anything like that
Yeah,
because it can be very drying on the hair. So I say it lightly, but if you're going on a vacation, I'm not going to tell you to miss out on that snorkeling opportunity or that diving
right. Okay.
opportunity.
Yeah.
We just take the extra precautions when we do those things. But yeah, so you're going to shampoo at home. I give directions on like how to work that through. There are some kind of specific things as far as like making sure that you're getting your head cleansed because you do have layers on it now, right? So where with traditional extensions, you can still get your hands in there and get to the scalp. With a mesh, you're fully covered.
Okay.
So you've got a little bit of like it's like a deep rinse, more or
Okay.
less, that
Yeah.
you're going to be doing.
Got it. Got it. So it's pretty stable. It's not
Yeah,
like, yeah, I mean,
it won't go anywhere. I mean, I have clients that they're on vacation right now and they're going to be going 4 weeks on vacation and no worries at all.
wow.
So
That is
they'll be
truly
fine.
a life change. Yeah, I mean, that's huge. Hair is actually a really big deal, and it really does take. I mean, it has an effect on your emotions and how you feel about yourself. So
Without a
I
doubt.
just think that is, that's so good, and that we have these options now that we never used to have. Can you talk about? I mean, I know that it sounds like from what you're saying, everything is very, I mean, it's a case by case basis as far as like, I know you do like hybrid applications and methods and, and so everybody's going to be different. But do you have like a general range of cost if somebody is actually like thinning and they're looking at like, okay, I need some help on the top of my hair. And, I'd like for it to be easy for me to manage and maybe a little length and fullness. What do you
Sure.
say on the price?
So I would say with traditional extensions, not the mesh integration,
Hmm.
your price range for a quality install and quality hair, you're going to look anywhere from 700 to 2500
Okay.
based on what you're getting and
Yeah.
how much hair you need. For mesh integration, it's a little bit different because it is more of an elite customized method.
Right.
Those systems can start at 2100 and they go up to 5000.
Okay. Okay.
So depending on where that's at.
Right. And I just know that, we all have things that are important to us. So, like for me, certain things are important. I'll spend on it because I need it and I
Absolutely.
want it. And then other things I'm like, I don't care so much. So I get, for some people, it is that important. And it is such a skilled service. And the hair extensions are actually human hair. Am I right?
Yes.
Okay.
100% human hair. All of the hair that I use for my guests, it's all going to be ethically sourced, which means that it is never underpaid to the people that are selling their hair. A lot of the hair I use is actually temple hair, which in other countries, they donate their hair to the temples as a sacrifice, and then their temples sell the hair to be able to support their congregations. And so they are actually getting the feedback into the towns and the neighborhoods and the people that are actively participating in it. So it is important to make sure you get quality hair because if you do, it's going to last anywhere from 6 months to 2 years, depending on the piece.
Okay.
So you're not having to purchase that hair over and over and over again.
Okay.
Whereas some you might get a couple months out of.
Yeah. Yeah. And so that's just a whole other thing. You mentioned it being ethically sourced and yeah, there have to be donors.
Yeah,
And I imagine there could be a whole black market on this hair thing. And it could get
there
into some
may
pretty
really
dark
be.
stuff, you know?
Yeah,
And so knowing when somebody comes in that, the hair that they're getting is has been donated by someone voluntarily, not taken from
right.
them, not yes. And I think that just knowing that there has been a lot of controversy around that as well. So that's so good that you brought that up. How would somebody even know if their stylist is sourcing hair responsibly? What would be
Yeah, so and that's something that a lot of people never think about and I mean even as a stylist, a lot of stylists have no idea where their hair is coming from.
right?
I've just been fortunate enough to work very closely with the brands that I use and to go to the factories and to go to the headquarters and to be able to see production and that sort of thing. And so a great way for a client to be able to look and to find the hair that they want is going to be researching the companies. So some of the companies that I use that are ethically sourced are going to be Everything Hand Tied, Covet and Maine. Um, and so on their websites, they actually have their sourcing information.
Okay.
So, but you can do that. You can look for stylists affiliated with the specific brands. So that's a great way to find them.
Okay, that's a good tip. So I just have to do your research, really, is what it sounds
Yeah.
like, to make sure that you're getting
Everything comes down to like, you've got to do your research to find the stylist that best fits you
right.
because no one ends up in my chair on accident,
Yes.
right?
That's a good point. That's exactly right.
No
Yes.
one ends up in my chair by accident. I don't have active booking at our reception or online. Like everything comes specifically through me because I do all these custom methods. So if you are looking for a quality install and a custom install for a significant hair loss, you're going to want to seek out the people that specialize in it.
That's a great point. I know that a lot of stylists are jumping on the extensions bandwagon. And so you may be listening and you may be thinking, well, I'll just get my stylist to do it. You know, I'm sure she does it since she does extensions or he does extensions. They'll be able to, they'll be able to know what to do. But not every stylist is created equally in every skill or method. And that's the one thing that I think a lot of times people don't realize is that you really want a specialist in whatever it is that you're seeking out. And you really do, like you said, need to do your homework. What would be, I mean, I hate to say red flag, but if somebody is looking for someone specifically to help them in a salon setting rather than in a more invasive surgery setting, and they're not, in Tennessee and they're not anywhere near us, but anyone who would be looking for someone, what would be some maybe do's and don'ts that you would want to notice about someone when you're searching online? Like, what could be some, I hate to say red flags, but what would be some red flags?
It is a red
What
flag,
red
right?
flag? Okay.
That's a red flag.
Yeah.
It's okay. I believe the best artists are transparent, right?
Mhm.
So if you ask a question to somebody and they won't give you an answer, or if they kind of skirt around the topic, that's a red flag to me.
Mhm.
If they will not tell you who they're certified with
Mhm. Mhm.
or show you the certification, that's a
Mhm.
red flag.
Mhm.
Because there's so many people who do extensions who have never taken a class in their life,
Mhm.
right? And they've
Mhm.
picked it up from YouTube or they picked it up from TikTok or whatever, but they don't know the fundamentals. And that's so, so, so important. So I think as a consumer, when you're going out and you're trying to find a stylist, do your research, look for certifications, look for your work. So you want to see those before and afters. You want to see testimonials. You want to see reviews. And don't assume that everybody can do it
Mhm.
because there are plenty of things I don't do.
Same.
Right? There are
Right.
plenty of things I don't do, and I will be the first person to
Yeah.
refer people out.
Mhm.
But the things I do, I put my whole effort behind to make sure I'm providing the best service. And that's what your stylist should do. Is it's okay to not do everything, but the thing that you are going to specialize in, you should be able to show proof of why you're a specialist.
Yes, absolutely. And in fact, I feel like if you can seek out a specialist, somebody who is just dialed in on one particular thing or just two particular things, just very few library of services that they offer, and they're really sticking to that, and you can see that that is what they do day in and day out. And like you said, you can see the proof of education and experience online. They're going to be showing that. And I think too, like you said, I think you could just kind of have a consultation too, and you're going to be able
Yeah.
to see if they're holding back, just kind of like being able
Yeah.
to read people, going in and having a consultation or doing it, over Zoom or something like that is probably a good
Absolutely.
way. Yeah.
And I also just in that, like, I don't want to pull back from the people just starting extensions
No,
because you
right.
all have to start somewhere, right?
Exactly.
We
Exactly.
all started at the bottom,
Mm-hmm.
but it depends on the circumstance of what you're looking for. Are you looking for something that is a run of the mill service or a standard service without complications? That's going to be the people to go that you'll be fine with an entry level.
Right.
If you have complications, if you have major thinning, if you have alopecia, if you have any type of scalp condition, stuff like that, you're going to want to go to somebody who has a little more experience that can take care of those things. So that is one thing I would like to say is that as an educator, I highly encourage people, go support your stylist as they're getting certified. Let them try things on you.
Mhm.
But if you need specific things, look for those people.
Right. And the transparency too of your
Yeah,
stylist that say, "Hey, I'm working on this, but I'm not specialized in this yet." And just
right.
being very upfront with the client and saying, "I can practice this on you," or, "Hey, I'm learning something,"
Yeah.
or but you kind of have to know where your limits are. And like you said, you'll send somebody you might send a bridal thing, or a special occasion style on over to the next chair, right? And
We'll
like
send that right over to you.
yeah, over to me. And, and I might send something over. I mean, I'm going to send the extensions to you. I'll do the basics. I got
Yeah,
my tape ins in and, but my husband can put those in. So, I can do that. And I can do the ones that I started on, but I don't have the training and the expertise, the hours of education spent. I mean, I feel like sometimes we have a master's degree in our various
oh,
specialties,
I think it's like more of a doctorate at this
it really is. It is
point.
more of like a doctorate.
Hundreds of thousands of dollars and hundreds of hours. It's
It just shows you the level of, I don't want to say the difference between stylists, but the variations of stylists out there. Somebody who, I mean, I'm old. So, of course, somebody who's 22 isn't going to have had
of
the
course.
education, but they could still be a rock star at 22. And we see
Oh
them like
yeah.
they're amazing, but they're on it. Like
Yeah.
there's something very special about them, and they continue to educate themselves. And
Yeah.
there's, I think you can, I think again, it goes back to just doing your homework and your research into, you do have to kind of compare and contrast. I mean, when I go to a doctor, I
Yeah.
look at the reviews, I compare and contrast. When you know, I frequent a business of some sort, like I'm going to want to know. I mean, I look at reviews and I go by word of mouth and things like that. And I kind of make a judgment for myself. So just because you have a cosmetology license doesn't necessarily mean you know how to do all the things and do them well. So
Absolutely. And
yeah.
that's the thing is like we're fortunate enough to work in a very large scale salon. So
Hmm.
we've got so much talent in one building
Hmm.
that I have a ton of clients that go to other stylists for color, for cuts, for anything else. I take care of their extensions and I send them right back.
Yeah.
It's okay to have multiple people on your team.
Right.
And I think a lot of people get scared of competition, but it's not competition if you're working together.
Exactly. Exactly. And if you're going to a stylist who's in their it's something's in their wheelhouse and they're just like rolling in their yeah, and their God-given talent and their passion and what they want to be doing, like stay with them for that and then go over to somebody else for something. I mean, we've become a very specialized industry now. I think it's
Yes.
a lot different than it ever used to be before.
Well, and I think that's a great point because think about like when we got started,
Yeah.
it
Yes.
was none of these services existed,
Uh-uh. No,
and a lot of us were never even taught foils,
I
you
wasn't
know.
spoiled.
I was gonna say, I feel like we talk
Cosmetology
about this a
school,
lot in the salon.
yeah.
And I had a stylist yesterday that mentioned like she didn't know how to do chunky highlights. And I just had like flashbacks of the days that I had to do those. And I was like,
Yeah,
oh my God,
I
they
know,
were never taught that.
right?
But that just goes to show we are in an ever changing industry.
Mhm.
And so there are going to be people that are at the top of their game on certain services who've never seen others.
Yes,
And so, yeah,
that's so
that all comes
true.
right back down to that research,
Yeah,
finding the people that specialize in it.
and you've gotta look at what the stylist is putting out online, if they're putting something out and that you might like their vibe, you might like their personality, you might like but don't go to them for something that they're not putting out there, like don't be like, "Oh, I like her, she's cool," or, "Oh, I think he looks cool. I'm gonna go to him." Or, your friend like turns you on to somebody, but they're a brunette, you're a blonde, they don't have extensions, you do, things like that. That's not necessarily gonna be the best fit.
Right.
Exactly.
Exactly.
Well, this has been so good. I just want to ask you one more thing about the extensions. Can you kind of give like some pros and cons to some of the different methods?
Sure.
Mm-hmm.
So I would say the user-friendly ones, the ones that you're going to experience with the most. Tape-ins, obviously, super fast, easy to install. They're going to be one of the less expensive options. They are widely available across most salons. The drawback on tape-ins are going to be they're not for everybody.
Mm-hmm.
If your hair's too thin, they're too heavy.
Mm-hmm.
If you may not have enough coverage for tape-ins. They don't wear well if you are active
Mm-hmm.
because they will slip out.
Mm-hmm.
If you get conditioner in them, if you get oils in them, they slip out, right? So they're a little more delicate when you have to take care of them in that way. But they're a great, easy, fast option that you're going to be able to find pretty easily.
Because they're kind of like a clip-in, but just a little bit more permanent, right? I mean, they've got like
I
a
mean,
gluey thing to them. They're kind of
you said it earlier, your husband could do them. I'm like,
right. I
when
mean,
I do my
it's stuff.
education classes, I'm like, I don't even teach tape-ins
No,
because I'm like, if everybody can do a tape-in, we'll talk
totally.
about placement
Yeah,
and how to maintain because
right.
that's important. But when it comes to the application, let's be
Yeah.
really honest,
No, I place
it
them on
doesn't
and
take a
I'm like,
lot
all
of
right,
skill to
get the
put in a
tape. Put the
tape-in.
tape on. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Any monkey can do the tape-ins, right?
Right. Tape-ins, they're great for their purpose, but they're not something that I talk about much.
Right. Exactly.
Um,
Exactly.
I would say I love K-tips, and I know that's like a controversial option. Some people love them, some people hate them. I love a micro K-tip. They are super flexible. They are so user friendly for the client at home.
Mm-hmm.
If you're active, if you're busy, you don't have time to be in the salon every 6 weeks, they're going to be your ones that last. They have the most versatility, the most mobility, and you're just going to be able to do so much with those. So I actually am a big fan of a K-tip. I know
Yeah.
that some people don't love that, but I do.
It's only like the pulling it out, like the trying to get it out. And I I don't have
Which
any
is so
patience.
funny because I felt like that forever ago,
Yeah,
but I do the most meticulous services.
I know. And I
And
don't
so
have
like
any patience.
that doesn't bother me.
Yes,
Um, and then I will say, so wefts are going to be your most popular right now. They've really trended over the last 5 years.
they have.
And so, a weft option is going to be great for longevity. You're going to be able to use the same hair over and over again. So you're going to get better longevity at the cost of the hair. And then they can be used for all hair types.
If
So,
you're someone that pulls your hair up and like does a whole bunch of like various
mhm,
things with them, like I know with my tape ins, like I've got some in and they're kind of grown out, but like when you pull them back, like it's not great, right? I mean, it's kind of I mean, I can do it, but like it's not the best.
yeah,
With the weft, the hand tied wefts, are those more flexible or
depending on the method.
okay?
So, keep in mind a weft is the strand of hair, like I always call it like a hula skirt.
It's
It's the band of hair,
I feel like
right?
it's
It's
the
like
theme or something. I
yeah.
don't know. Yeah.
So a weft is not the method. It's not how it's installed. It's the tool you're using.
Okay.
So it all depends on the method. There are weft methods that are tacked tighter to the head. The ones that I personally prefer are going to be more of a hidden bead method, which gives you ultimate flexibility and no beads are showing, and you can throw your hair on top of your head and never think about it.
I love that.
So it will depend on the method with those. Because if you have some beaded row methods, you will have less flexibility, or depending on your density, you could run into some beads and
Yeah.
different things. But
Penis.
that's where it's important to be versatile. You need to know multiple options because one size does not fit all.
Mm-hmm.
Because I could wear pretty much any method you wanted to put on me because I have enough hair to cover it. But if I had some of my clients that don't have that hair and they only have maybe like this on their whole head,
Yeah, that's me. Hello.
they're,
That's me.
they're going to need an option that is disguised.
Right.
So that would be one of the big things is wefts are very versatile. There's so many things you can do with them and they can be customized. It's just down to the method of installation.
Okay. Yeah. And the person installing them.
Yeah. And the person,
Yeah.
yes.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then the next one, you touched on it, but I didn't really talk about was the micro point.
Oh, I did want to talk about that because
Yeah, so micro point is actually one of the most meticulous services I offer. And it is done by hand tying on single strands of hair on the top of the head. So
I had a little taste of that at one time. I think, and one of the other girls at the salon was practicing it, and I just thought I couldn't sit through this, but it would be great for me. You said it'd be great for me because of what I've got going on in the front.
it would be great for you, but again, what's more important to you? Is your time more important?
Yeah.
Or is having that invisible hair important?
Right. Yeah.
So you really have to like come down to it takes a lot of time and it takes maintenance to maintain that. So it gives a beautiful result, but it
Mhm.
is one of the higher maintenance, higher costing services.
Yeah. Understandably, because just could take a long time.
Yes, it takes, and I'm fast with almost everything I
Mhm.
do. Like I'll do a row in about 20 minutes. But
You gotta have like 900 rows. Not 900, but
most of
like
my
you gotta
clients
have a
have
lot of rows.
most of my clients have 1 to 2 rows of
Really?
mist
Okay.
extensions.
Okay.
Yeah. But like so I'll do a full set in an hour, where some people may take 2 or 3 hours.
Have those little micro ones? The
Oh
little
no, those, they'll range between 2 and 3 hours for a
Yeah.
session.
Okay.
But I will only do 1 session a day.
Oh, that would
Because I've done 3 in 1 day, and at the
that'd
end
be
of the day,
torture.
my eyes don't work
Yeah.
anymore.
You hated your life after that, and
I
you were
did
like,
hate
yeah, no, absolutely
And
not.
so those are a beautiful option, but they are going to
Mhm.
be for your really detailed people. And then mesh is gonna be that option where other methods have failed.
Okay.
When you need coverage on the top of your head,
Yeah.
but you don't wanna wear a clip-on topper.
Right.
If you don't wanna have to take it on and off every day, I encourage a lot of my clients, get a clip-on topper first. Let's wear it, make sure you're gonna love it, and then when you want it on your head every day and you don't wanna mess with it anymore, we'll do the full mesh.
That's such a good
It's a
advice.
great, like, trial before you invest in that.
Mhm.
Because the clip-on options, they range anywhere from 800 to 1,100, and then I do full customization on everything, so custom coloring, making sure it's a perfect seamless blend on you, and doing the full fitting. And with the clip-ons, there's no maintenance. Once you have it, it's up to you to put it on at home, and that's it.
Yeah.
So it's
Yeah.
great for those people who want it for events. It's
Yeah.
great for the people that don't wanna have to come in the salon all the time,
Mhm.
but it does take daily work
Right. Yeah.
of
Yeah.
taking it on and off.
Just a
And
trade-off.
yeah, and then the mesh is your ultimate. So it's attached, it is there. You're gonna come and see me every 2 to 3 weeks, and I will tighten it up. It's a high it's a high maintenance service in the fact that you're gonna come in the salon quite a bit, but you're gonna get the most hyper realistic result, and you're going to have the most coverage with it.
So how is it actually is it like an adhesive that is put on, or
Nope.
is it like
So I
weave?
use no adhesives at all.
Okay.
Everything is beaded and sewn in.
Okay.
It's just it's that technique of being able to disguise it down and everything lives underneath.
Okay. Okay. So
Yeah.
and so for like could someone with short hair if they're like okay, so even
Oh,
with short
definitely.
hair.
Yeah, I've done it on clients that their hair is an inch and a half long, growing out from chemo, and I gave them hair down their back.
Oh my gosh. And they had beads up there at the top.
Yeah, so it's a full coverage option, so they'll never see any of that,
Okay.
but it is attached with beads.
Oh, interesting. Okay. Is there any technology that's kind of on the forefront right now that could be coming out that you're excited about, that you've seen, that you think could be coming on the market?
There's actually a ton. I've gotten certified in 4 different methods this
You're
year.
certified in like so many things. Like, yeah, I mean, you're like an
There's
expert.
so much happening in this industry.
Yeah.
So, we've seen V lights really pop off this year, which have been a great option, but again, very high maintenance. Think of them more like a lash extension. So you're going to be coming in for fills every couple weeks.
Okay.
I would love to see I would love to see an alternative to V lights take off. So it's out there. We've been working on it.
Now, explain what that is exactly, like what a V-light is.
So V lights is actually raw hair that is attached using a UV gel, and it's cured under a UV light. And so if you kind of think like you're going to the nail salon and you get gel nails,
Okay.
it's gel nails meets hair extensions.
So you're attaching a hair onto another hair with like kind of an adhesive, but
But
it's
it's
cured
cured
under
under
the
a light.
gel light or under
Yeah.
the light.
So, like lash extensions, you know how lash extensions are applied
Yes.
to the individual lash? This
Hmm.
is going to be very similar to that. Very
So
similar.
what
Just
is
using
that?
an adhesive that's cured under a light.
Okay. So what is that like for styling and everything? Do you have to be like super duper careful not to pull on it too much or?
I would say yes.
Yeah.
I have clients that have managed to keep them in for 4 months, which is
What?
rare.
Oh
It's
my
very rare,
gosh.
and I don't tell anyone
Like,
that they
are they
last that
ever
long.
washing their hair? No.
Every once in a while, I have somebody come in and we'll be combing through and I find one and they're like, "Oh, they're still there?" Because they can't even feel them
Yeah.
because they're so natural.
Yeah, I think that would
But
be the ultimate. Like, if I could just
yeah,
have, like, a whole head of those, but can you imagine?
they're fantastic. I mean, I've done a half head of them, but on a half head, I mean, I would say they were all gone within 2 months.
Yeah,
And there's no removal on them. They naturally shed out because
they
'cause they're
just
only a
kinda
half.
come out? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, I mean, very high maintenance. I would say most clients see them fully shed out in a month.
Okay. Yeah, that's not a
So, it's
long time.
great for an event,
Yeah.
but I wouldn't recommend it for a full head.
Hopefully, that technology will come along
Yeah.
a little
I
bit
think we're
more.
gonna see some things coming out like that. I've seen ice extensions are starting to take off, which it's like a cold fusion.
Oh, okay.
So we did cold fusions back in the day.
Oh, yeah.
You know, you
Yep.
know the cold
Oh,
fusion
yeah.
game.
Yep, for sure.
So it's like an updated cold fusion,
Oh, okay.
essentially. So, and you're gonna see a lot of like Brazilian knots coming out, things like that. Like we're really starting to integrate some of the methods that have been used around the world, and they're really starting to show up in the US now.
Well, that's good. I mean, I feel like we're kind of we're right. I feel like we're kinda, like, behind sometimes the rest of the world on some stuff, but, someone who's listening who looks at people online and they look at their friends and they say, "Oh, they've got hair extensions, but it looks beautiful on their friends, but they're dealing with something very different, and maybe they can't have that." Or maybe, it gives them a feeling of, something inside themselves. It's almost like it's painful to know that you can't do anything about your issue. And when it's
Right.
hair,
Yeah.
that's something that people see every day and it makes an
Well, and a lot of
impression.
the time, the issues are way further than hair. And if we
Mhm.
can take control just by taking care of the hair portion, it takes a lot of the stress off of the other side.
Yeah, it sure does. I don't think it gets enough credit for making a huge difference in someone's, honestly, their mental health and their emotional state, because that is very upsetting when
Hmm.
you're dealing, and I know, you've lost your hair. I don't
Yeah.
have any hair. It's like,
Yes.
it's not, I don't have the hair I want.
When
So
you've been through those shed phases like that, I mean, I lost probably 2/3 of my hair at 2 different points, and it's devastating.
yeah. Yeah.
And for people that have never had the luxury of having that hair, it can be life changing
Mhm.
because they've always been hiding.
Yeah, always been hiding. That's right.
And you don't have to hide anymore.
Yeah. Oh, I love that. I'm going to end on that note because that's such a positive note. And I feel like this offers hope and help to people that have been struggling for so long. And I just don't think that this is really getting covered enough, or that people are knowing that these options are out there for them. So I want to thank you so much for coming on. Let us know where somebody could find you if they are in our area and they were interested in maybe having a consultation, or even if they just wanted to reach out to you. I don't know if you're up for like sending a DM for some advice to people that aren't in our area, but just where
Of
can people find you
course.
online?
Yeah. So my Instagram is Lauren Keck Hair. And we can probably tag this so that spelling's out there. But Lauren Keck Hair, education platform is LMK Guide to Mastery. And then I also partner with different brands like Everything Hand Tied. I'm a stylist at Studio Gavin in Nashville or in Franklin, Tennessee. And so for our locals, I would love to have you in my chair. I would love to help anyone who can't make it to me find someone that works for you, because I do have a wide range and a network across the country that I would love to be able to expand and to refer you guys to get you the person that you really need.
That's perfect. Well, I'm going to put that information into the show notes. And so that'll be right there, easy to find. And yeah, if anybody wants to reach out and get the help that, that they didn't even maybe know was available out there, but now they do, that will be available to them. So I'm excited for that. Thank you so much for coming
Thank
on.
you so much.
Yes, I appreciate you spending your time with us. And so we will see you again soon. Hopefully, you'll be on again.
All right. Amazing. Thanks for having me.
Thank you for joining me on this episode of Lessons from Your Hairstylist. I hope you found inspiration and actionable insights to embrace your unique beauty and elevate your life. Remember, it's all about taking small steps towards a happier, healthier you. If you enjoyed today's conversation, please take a moment to subscribe, leave a review, and share this episode with someone who might benefit from it. Together, let's continue unlocking the secrets to living beautifully fulfilled. Until our next appointment, keep your thoughts on your visions, your self-talk kind, and remember to keep your heart open so you don't miss any opportunities waiting for you out there. I'll see you on the next one.